Hey class, it's Brett Carter, and I'm going to be talking to you about POP3, IMAP, and SMTP, and the best practices and implementation of all three. Alright, about POP3. POP3, otherwise known as Post Office Protocol 3, is the most recent version of a standard protocol for receiving email. POP3 is a client and server protocol in which email is received and held for you by your internet server. Periodically, you or your client email receiver check your email box on the server and download any mail, probably using POP3. This standard protocol is built into most popular email products, such as Eudora and Outlook Express. It's also built into Netscape and Microsoft Internet Explorer browsers. POP3 is designed to delete mail on the server as soon as the user has downloaded it. However, some implementations allow users or an administrator to specify that mail be saved for some period of time. POP3 can be thought of as a store and forward service. And the ports used are port 110, and this is the default for POP3 non-encrypted port, and port 995, and this is the port you need to use if you want to connect using POP3 securely. Alright, best practices and implementation for POP3. You need to set the mail store on a volume other than the one on which the operating system is installed. Because the mail store can potentially use large amounts of disk space, you should either set a disk quota limit on the volume of the mail store, or set it to use a volume other than the one where the operating system is installed. This will prevent the possibility of the operating system running out of disk space if the mail store becomes too large. You also need to set the bad mail directory on a volume other than the one on which the operating system is installed. When an email is undeliverable, the SMTP service returns it to the sender with a non-delivery port, NDR. If the NDR cannot be delivered to the sender, a copy of the message is put in the bad mail directory. To prevent the possibility of the operating system running out of disk space, you must move the SMTP bad mail directory to a volume other than the one in which the operating system is installed. Use an NTFS file system partition for the mail store and implement disk quotas. NTFS file system partitions provide greater directory and folder security. This enhances the protection of email stored on the local hard disks. Disk quotas can prevent the mail store from using an excessive or anticipated amount of disk space. This is important because excessive or anticipated use of disk space can adversely affect the performance of the server on which the POP3 service is running. Allocate adequate disk space for the mail store. To ensure that you allocate adequate disk space for the mail store, estimate the amount of disk space it will need to be based on the number of users on the server, the volume of email they will receive, and the average size of the email they will receive. And finally, use strong passwords to protect your mail server. Strong passwords to protect your mail server from unauthorized access. About IMAP. IMAP, or Internet Message Access Protocol, is a standard protocol for accessing email from your local server. IMAP is a client-server protocol in which email is received and held for you by your internet server. You or your email client can view just the heading and the sender of the letter and then decide whether to download the mail. You can also create and manipulate multiple folders or mailboxes on the server, delete messages, or search for certain parts of an entire note. IMAP requires continual access to the server during the time that you're working with your mail. And IMAP uses two ports. Port 143, this is the default for IMAP non-encrypted port, and port 993, and this is the port you need to use if you want to connect using IMAP securely. Best practices and implementation for IMAP. Connecting to server and authentication. You need to connect to port 143. Wait 1 second or so for the connection to establish. If 143 didn't answer soon enough, connect to port 993. If connection to port 993 succeeded but port 143 didn't, use 993. If connection to port 143 succeeds, look for Start TLS capability. If you see Start TLS capabilities, execute it. If it succeeds, use 143. If there is no Start TLS capability, connect to port 993. If it succeeds, use it. If there's no Start TLS capability and port 993 doesn't answer, fail it. Alright, to authenticate it, if you see auth equals X capabilities where X is something you can handle and it's not login or plain, use it. If If you see auth equals plain and there is no login disabled capability, use either login command or authenticate plain. Login command is preferred over authenticate plain because it avoids one round trip. Authenticate plain supports logging in as another user, but normally you don't need to use it. Protocol issues. Read the IMAP RFC instead of guessing how things work based on a couple of users that send you. If you don't fully understand the RFC, ask about it in the IMAP protocol mailing list. When you implement your input parsing, pay special attention to A, B, and F rules. You might be surprised at some things that server is allowed to send you. For example, just because servers usually list mailbox names with quoted strings doesn't mean that listing them with literals isn't allowed. Listing mailboxes, namespaces, and subscriptions. Most clients show mailboxes as a tree structure. Typically, you begin by displaying only the top-level mailboxes. If some of the mailboxes have children, get a list of them only after the user has opened that hierarchy in the tree. If server advertises namespace extension, you should show all the namespaces. However, don't list the contents unless the user explicitly opens a namespace. Subscriptions are meant to be used as some kind of bookmarks for mailboxes. If your server had 1 million mailboxes, the user would probably want to know about only a few of them. A user would subscribe those few ones and the client would display only them as mailbox lists in normal operation. Creating, renaming, and deleting mailboxes. There are 3 kinds of mailboxes. 1. Mailboxes that can only have messages. 2. Mailboxes that can only have child mailboxes. This could also be called a directory. And 3. Mailboxes that can have both messages and child mailboxes. These are also called dual-use mailboxes. When you rename a mailbox yourself, you can also rename the mailbox in your local cache. If another client does the rename, this isn't really possible because you'll simply see the old mailbox gone and a new mailbox appear. It's not safe to assume that the local cache is valid, even if you can figure out that this could be a rename. Some clients perform mailbox deletions by moving the mailbox under trash. This doesn't work if the server doesn't support dual-use mailboxes. If you insist on doing this, at least handle the rename failure in some other way. Either just deleting the mailbox or doing the move by updating only internal state. Mailbox status and mailbox list. Many clients show number of unseen messages next to the mailbox name in the mailbox list. The clients usually do this by sending status command to the mailbox every few minutes. Status can be expensive to some servers though, so this isn't really recommended. However, since users want that feature, such recommendations are pretty useless. There are a few things you can do to lessen the server's load though. When you're connected to the server and you've got the list of mailboxes, send status only to the mailboxes visible in your mailbox list. If some child mailboxes aren't visible, it's pointless to waste servers' time on calculating their status. Also, don't send status to selected mailbox. It works badly with some servers, and you already know that selected mailbox state, so it's pointless to send the status. Instead, use simply a noop or checker idle to find out if the selected mailbox has new messages. Showing message list. After selecting mailbox, clients usually show a list of messages. Usually the list contains at least message, sender, date, and subject. Showing open message. Usually clients show some interesting message headers, messages, plain text body, and attachment icons if there are any. The most important thing is to avoid fetching the entire message body. If the message has 1 megabyte attachment, there's no need to download it until the user expressed interest in opening or saving it. You can do this by parsing body or body structure reply and fetching only the MIME parts you're going to show. About SMTP. SMTP stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. This is the protocol used for sending email over the internet. Your email client uses SMTP to send a message to the mail server, and the mail server uses SMTP to relay that message to the correct receiving mail server. Basically, SMTP is a set of commands that authenticate and direct the transfer of electronic mail. SMTP works closely with something called Mail Transfer Agent, or MTA for short, to send your communication to the right computer and email box. SMTP provides a set of codes that simplify the communication of email messages between email servers. It's kind of a shorthand that allows the server to break up different parts of a message into categories the other server can understand. When you send a message out, it's turned into strings of text that are separated by the code words that identify the purpose of each section. And SMTP works on 3 ports. Port 25, which is the default port. Port 2525. This port is open on all SiteGround servers in case port 25 is filtered and you want to send non-encrypted emails with SMTP. And port 465, and this port is used if you want to send messages using SMTP securely. Alright, best practices and implementation for SMTP. In large user-based company with multiple servers, it is common practice to have separate inbound and outbound routing because it simplifies troubleshooting under normal circumstances. Single servers at each of these points would represent the simplest configuration. You need OS antivirus should be enabled on Domino's data directory. The antivirus designed Domino mail server should not be disabled on mail.box. Transaction logging recommended to be disabled on mail.box. DAoS enabling the mail.box is optional. It has no storage advantage, but enabling DAoS optimizes performance by not needing to copy bytes. You can have an open relay. An open mail relay is an SMTP server configured in such a way that allows anyone on the internet to send email through it, not just mail destined to or originated from known users. Making Lotus Domino a closed relay server. To protect SMTP servers from unauthorized relaying, Lotus Domino provides inbound relay controls used to define the host to which and from which a server can relay messages. The Domino SMTP listener denies requests to relay messages to or from authorized hosts. And this concludes my presentation. So I appreciate you all for listening.